Hello guys and welcome back to our countdown to Christmas. Today is the 21st of December, only 4 more days and we've got another video for you. Now yesterday we were talking about the Locust Destroyers going up against the Triarch Stalker. So if you missed that one, find that in the playlist or in the top right of your screen. Is it that way? Is it that way? I always get that wrong. But today we've got another video. This time we're going to be doing something a little bit different. We're going to be talking about the Necron Lord with the Resurrection Orb going up against the Canoptek Reanimator. And we're not doing the simple comparisons that we've been doing in this series so far. I mainly want to focus on the actual reanimation protocol side of these two units. So for the Resurrection Orb, of course, that's for the Necron Lord, and the Nano Scarab Beam coming from the Reanimator. I'm going to do a lot of maths for you in this video, and I'm going to come to a conclusion of which one I think is the better option at the end of this video. So what I want you guys to do is I want you guys to like the video, I want you guys to subscribe to the channel and comment down below which one of these units you would prefer. You can do that at the start of the video, and if you change your mind during the video, then yeah, just edit your comment later on. Right, so the Necron Lord is an infantry character HQ with the Noble keyword. Very important that it's got the Noble keyword because that's going to unlock the Cryptek Dynastic Advisor's ability that those Cryptek models can take. You need a Noble, in fact, to do that. Now, the Reanimator, well, it's an elite monster with the core keyword, and it's also a Canoptek unit. So bear those keywords in mind during the video. So let's begin how we normally begin. We're going to compare the stats of note. So first of all, the Lord has got the weapon skill ballistic skill of a 3+, whereas the Canoptek Reanimator is hitting on a 4+. Doesn't really matter, to be honest with you. These things are not that good at doing any damage whatsoever. In fact, we're not going to be talking so much about the weapons in this video, so don't worry too much about that. But the movement of these models, 8-inch for the Reanimator, 6-inch for the Lord, so the Reanimator is obviously quicker there. And the Reanimator's got 6 wounds as opposed to the Necron Lord's 4. And it's got 4 attacks as well, but again, I'm not too bothered about the damage output. So for the fact that the Reanimator's got an 8-inch movement and 6 wounds, I'm going to give it to the Canoptek Reanimator in this instance, just for the datasheet alone. Now of course the Necron Lord is a character model, so it can use the Lookout Sir ability. So in fact he is actually much more protected, but that's something else and we're going to talk about that later on. Right, unique abilities to begin. The Lord's Will for the Necron Lord. So one single core unit within 6 inches gets to reroll hit rolls of a 1. It's also got the Relentless March ability, so core units within 6 inches get to +1 to their movement. And the Resurrection Orb, of course, that's the main focus of the Necron Lord today, being able to return models in your command phase as if it was your reanimation protocols. If you've lost 5 models in the unit, you can literally roll 5 dice or however many wounds you've got for that unit, and you're doing it in your own command phase. Now, the Canoptek Reanimator's got the Nano Scarab Reanimation Beam. That's the important part of the Reanimator side of this. So that's a +1 to all reanimation protocols rolls for a unit that is within 6 inches of your Canoptek Reanimator, providing that they were the target of the beam. So similar in one aspect to the Resurrection Orb, but in another way it's not, because it doesn't happen in your command phase. Well, it can happen in your command phase if you link them together, but normally it's going to happen once your opponent has actually finished making attacks with their units. So that's the beam, and also it's going to be exploding. Although it isn't a vehicle, it's a monster. A lot of people do forget that it's a monster vehicle. It's a monster vehicle. A lot of people do forget that it is a monster. So on a roll of a 6, when it is destroyed, units within 3 inches will take a mortal wound. Cool. So for the abilities alone, I'm going to give it to the Necron Lord. Now I haven't yet spoken about all the reanimation maths and things like that, but just for pure abilities alone, I'm going with the Necron Lord. Right, I need to think of a name for this segment of this video. I'm going to call it the Orb versus the Beam. Simple as that. The Orb versus the Beam. So first of all, with the Necron Lord, when is the best moment to use the Resurrection Orb? First of all, you've got to decide what kind of unit you're using the Resurrection Orb on. So for me, I would like to use it on the largest units that we have, and we've got 2 of the largest units, which are the Flayed ones. They can come in groups of 20, and the Necron Warriors, which can also come in groups of 20. Now for me, I would prefer the Necron Warriors because they get to reroll reanimation protocols rolls of a 1 anyway. They would be my personal choice when I was using a Resurrection Orb. So for the example today, I'm going to be using Necron Warriors, and we're going to do a little bit of maths for you. So first of all, if you've got a 20-man warrior blob and you've lost 18 models, you've been absolutely devastated by your opponent's unit. You've only got 2 models remaining and it's your turn, it's your command phase. That means when you use your reanimation protocols roll, or your Resurrection Orb, sorry, you're going to have 18 rolls in your dice pool. You're going to roll them, approximately 6 of them are going to be 5+ rolls, and you're going to get to re-roll all the 1s. So there should actually be 3 1s in that pool on average. And out of those 3 1s, on average, 1 of those should be a 5+. So that's going to actually total you 7 models that stand back up again. So if you do the same maths with 5 models remaining, so that's 15 that have been lost, so you've got 15 rolls here, approximately 5.8 models are going to stand back up again. Doing the same with 10 models remaining, so half the unit went there, approximately 3.9 models are going to stand up. And if you're doing it quite early, you've only lost 5 out of the 20 models, but you're getting a little bit nervous and you want to use your orb, you're only going to get 1.9, possibly 2 models that are going to stand back up again. Now anything for me between 5 and 10 models remaining is okay to use, because you're going to get back on average around 4 to 6 models. Now when you compare that to actual points for the Necron Warriors, that's going to be between 52 and 78 points. So you're easily going to be doubling your points, and you're going to also be keeping that unit running. Now without the rerolls of ones, you're likely going to drop one of those models. So let's say you're using the flayed ones for example, and you've only got 2 models remaining, you're probably going to get 6 rather than 7 flayed ones come back. But then you've got to bear in mind flayed ones are 10 points each, not 13. So if you do get 6 back, that's going to be 60 points brought back to you. That's still a profit because the Resurrection Orb only costs you 25 points in total, but I think it is better served on the Necron Warriors. Now what about using the Canoptek Reanimator? So the Reanimator kind of works differently because it happens during your opponent's phase after they've made their attacks, or potentially it links with a Resurrection Orb in your own command phase, but then we're talking about the Resurrection Orb again, aren't we? I'm purely talking about the Canoptek Reanimator's beam here. Now unfortunately, if you do not go first, then that beam will not be activated because it happens in your command phase. You activate in your command phase, you select a target for the reanimation beam to happen with. So if you've not gone first and you've not activated that beam, unfortunately you're going to have to wait until your next turn before you can make use of the Reanimator. So the way I see the Canoptek Reanimator's beam, Necrons already have a 5+ reanimation protocols role. That's a standard that's completely natural to the codex, whether there's a beam there or not. So with this Canoptek Reanimator's beam, it makes this a 4+ of course, so that actually means only an exact roll of a 4 on the dice, so only a 4 makes any difference whatsoever because you've already got a 5+ naturally. So what I would advise you do is throughout the game keep a tally of the exact rolls of a 4 that you score, how many you're going to be scoring, and if you are using it on completely different kind of models, maybe you're using it on the Warriors, maybe you're using it on Flayed Ones, Scorpion Destroyers, maybe also in your head keep a tally of which units you've brought back or which models you've brought back from those units, because at the end of the game you can work out roughly, well exactly in fact, what models you brought back, so therefore what points you've regained by using the Canoptek Reanimator. So for example, if you rolled 5 exact rolls of a 4 when using reanimation protocols on the Flayed Ones, you know you brought back 40 points worth of models. The Canoptek Reanimator costs 80 points, so you've actually made a loss there. So yeah, anything that you brought back that's less than 80 points, less than the Canoptek Reanimator's cost, the Reanimator has not done its job whatsoever. If you break even, it's debatable on whether it's done its job or not. If you get more, then yeah, fair enough, the Canoptek Reanimator has done its job. Now there are times where what I've just said does not apply. So for example, key locations of the battlefield, where it's kind of a win-lose kind of area, win-lose kind of moment, and if you lose your 20-man warrior blob for example, you've lost the game because it's so important to the actual battle. Let's say you've got down to only 2 models remaining and you're about to use your reanimation protocols rolls, and just by getting a couple of 4s on the dice rolls with the Canoptek Reanimator's beam, it means some of those Necron Warriors are going to survive, and maybe they're going to take their objective because you've got more models than your opponent does, which actually wins you the game. Now that's probably going to bring you back less points than the Reanimator's worth, but you're actually winning the game because of that Reanimator's beam. So in that situation, it was definitely worth it, wasn't it? Now other situations I want to mention to add to this debate, when using the beam on multi-wound models, it's actually beneficial to their reanimation protocols role. Because as we know, using reanimation protocols on multi-wound models is actually quite difficult. So I'm going to give you an example. Say you lose 2 Canoptek Wraiths, they're 3 wounds each, so that's going to be 6 dice in the wounds pool for your reanimation protocols roll. Now without the reanimation beam, when you roll 6 dice, on average 2 of those dice will be a 5+ roll, which means no Canoptek Wraiths are going to get returned. Now if you do have the beam on them, that turns to a 4+, which means now on average 3 of those dice rolls should be a 4+ roll, so therefore you'll actually get 1 Canoptek Wraith back from the dead. So in that situation it has made a difference because you've changed the odds of the multi-wound models coming back, I guess. So all in all, to summarise this part of the video, for this battle between the orb and the beam, I'm still going to go with the Necron Lord because you're more likely going to double the amount of points you get back, and even if you don't, even if you fail, you've only lost 25 points in trying to do so, but you've just got more chance of redeeming points as you do with a Canoptek Reanimator. That's just my opinion. Let me know yours down in the comments below. Right, let's get onto some unique synergy here before we get onto the advantages and disadvantages of both these models. The first one is actually quite weird because they both synergize with each other perfectly well. The Necron Lord's Resurrection Orb and the Canoptek Reanimator's Beam, you can actually use them in the exact same time. So that means the Resurrection Orb, when you've actually popped it, you're going to be bringing back warriors or whatever other units you're bringing back on a 4+ because of the beam. instead of a 5+. Other options with the Necron Lord, you've got the Orb of Eternity Relic, so that's going to be a +1 to the Reanimation Protocols roll for the Orb, very similar to the Canoptek Reanimator's beam in fact. Also, you've got the option of the Veil of Darkness Relic to teleport a core unit across the battlefield. Better served with a ranged unit such as, again, the Necron Warriors with the Ghost Reapers perhaps, because if you take a melee unit, they're going to go charging off. The Necron Lord isn't going to do that. It's going to be left out like a sitting duck. Other options, Thrall of the Silent King, which is a Warlord trait to add 3 inches to the Lord's Will ability, as well as the Relentless March aura. Or you've got a stratagem which is Resurrection Protocols for 1 command point to return your Lord if he was destroyed. Now it will be on a 4+, and it'll be given back D3 lost wounds. Now the Reanimator's got a couple of things that it's able to do. So first of all, the Reanimation Prioritization, which is 2 command points to a pricey stratagem, and it effectively allows you to change the target of your Reanimation beam from one unit to the other. Now your opponent may know this, so therefore you're actually going to play into their hands. Maybe they target a warrior blob, you go changing the target of your beam, spending 2 command points, and then they go targeting the original unit to begin with. So they're just going to rinse your CP that way. Sometimes it is beneficial to you, don't get me wrong, but for me I think it's not a good one. Other option is the Army of Renown Cult of the Cryptek, because it's got the Canoptek keyword. But overall, in terms of synergy, I think the Lord is going to win that one. There are other options that we can talk about, but yeah, we don't want to talk too much about damage output in this video. Right, onto the general purpose of both units. So the Lord is going to be holding the Orb, of course, while hidden within a unit for the Lookout Sir ability to be in play. Possibly can use the Veil of Darkness Relic and go with a ranged unit as we mentioned. And the Canoptek Reanimator is going to assist with annoying your opponents by helping bring models back. Potentially works better with multi-wound models, but can also work well with the Necron Warriors. Can also be a little bit of a distraction for your opponent, especially if they don't know how to play Necrons or they're not familiar with Necrons. Your opponent may actually think that the Canoptek Reanimator is a key part of our battle plans, when really it could just be a huge distraction. Right, advantages and disadvantages, starting with the Necron Lord. Our advantages are options of relics because it's a character, and likewise with the Warlord traits, you've got the options of those. You can use the Lookout Sir ability because he's a character model of course, and the Lord's Will for rerolling ones to hit with core units. Relentless March aura for a +1 to the movement. He is a noble, so he's unlocking the dynastic advisors for your Technomancers and your Chronomancers in particular, so you can be using them without using up battlefield slots. Now he also does come into play for the Code of Combat secondary objective, but to be honest, this thing ain't doing any damage, is it? It's hitting on a 3+, again not that important, it's not doing too much damage, but at least it's not a 4+. And finally, weapon options, I've put a question mark there because again, who cares, right? Now disadvantages, the Orb is only a once per battle item. Once you've used it, you've used it. Potentially you don't actually get to use it. If your Necron Lord gets destroyed during the battle and you've not used the Orb, well, you've lost the Orb too, right? He's moving slow at 6 inches, he's only got 4 wounds, and he's got 1 less attack over the Reanimator. Again, whatever. Right, as for the Canoptek Reanimator, advantages. So the beam works all game, not just once per the battle. Can fire into engagement range because it's a monster and not an infantry unit. 8 inches of movement rather than 6. He's got 6 wounds rather than 4. It's core. Provides a Lookout Sir for other units because it's a monster. And finally, the Cult of the Cryptek is an option. Disadvantages, can be targeted because it's not a character model. It's harder to hide this thing with terrain and whatnot because it's quite a tall model, so it is going to stick out like a sore thumb. Hits on a 4+ because it's Canoptek. Units must stay within 6 inches of the beam. I think that really stinks about that ability. In fact, I've not spoken about that yet. If you target, say, a warrior unit with your reanimation beam and then they go charging off into another unit, the beam now does not apply to them because they've come out of 6 inches. So it is an aura, but it isn't an aura, but it is an aura. You know what I'm on about. Right. Generally, it does not make its points back. I want you to do the maths, guys, and let me know down in the comments below if you are getting your points back. I personally don't think you do. You cannot use relics and warlord traits again, it's not a character model. And finally, the stratagem to swap the beam target is too pricey. 2 command points, yeah. Way too pricey, especially when they removed how many starting CP we get in the game. So we're at the point of the video where I've got to make a decision. You guys already know this one. I do not like the Canoptek Reanimator. I actually hate the Canoptek Reanimator, and some of you Discord members, in fact, you guys love the Reanimator. I know Dan's in the comments now. Yeah, is this maybe in the comments now? But yeah, I don't like the Reanimator, so this one's an easy one for me, and it's going to be the Necron Lord. So guys, thank you all for watching. I'm going to end the video here, and I'll see you tomorrow.